Hi, this is Teresa Beem, and this is Make Mothers Great Again. Okay, so we're going to go from there to the second one. The second one is the mother rocking and singing to her fussy baby. Now, babies are just going to be fussy, and you know, it's really hard to know what to say to young women today because you can say everybody wants to say, "Calm down, don't get upset if your baby cries." Well, back in my day and before, women were there like that. They didn't let their babies cry at all. And so they were calming women down and saying, it's okay to let them cry for 5 or maybe even 10 minutes. You first, if it's during the day, you always go check on your baby. You always want to go check on them, make sure they're okay because you don't know why they're crying. It could be that they're cold. It could be that they're wet. The diaper may need to be changed. They might have be uncomfortable for some reason. So always go check on your baby, especially at night. And if they're okay, you've checked everything, you've gone down the list of what it could be, then you can let them cry for 5 or 10 minutes. But I'm finding out from talking to other mothers that sometimes these young women who are having babies take that and think, oh, first thing I'm going to let them cry for 15 or 20 minutes. I think that is not a good idea at all. So I would always do a lot of rocking. I think when a baby's young, before they're a year old, do a lot of rocking, and even after. I believe in rocking babies. I think that's a wonderful time of bonding with your child. One of the most tender moments of a mother's life, and she picks up her crying child and begins to rock and sing to them soothingly. As you sing them a lullaby, their little bodies tend to just, their little warm bodies start all agitated and they're stiffened, and once they smell mommy's hair and smell mommy's skin, they gradually quieten down and snuggle next to you. It's one of the most precious moments ever of being a mom. And rocking and singing to your baby is an art form. The best thing is for them to hear their mommy's voice. If you don't like your voice, your baby, remember, heard your voice in the womb for 9 months. He or she loves your voice. That's what soothes them. And so, learn a few sweet lullabies. Don't just always turn on the radio or computer or whatever. Boy, that really dates me, radio. But anyway, don't just turn on the computer. Don't let Beyonce sing to your child. You sing to your child, and your voice soothes them. Rock them gently, of course. Another thing I'm seeing a lot is young dads getting a little bouncy, a little too bouncy with their children, and so you just rock them gently as a mom. There will be times when you wish that they'll sleep. And then you can rock them with a little more firmness. One of the things that I can tell mothers is, don't do it harsh, but sometimes babies just need a little firm touch to stay down. You just keep their head down against you. Don't do it where you have to just don't do it so much that you have to push, because you don't want a baby neck strained because they're trying to get out of your grasp, and they might actually be hot. Occasionally but if you start from the beginning and you learn, and it's really good for children to learn mom's in charge. So you put your hand firmly and you rock, and you might have to rock a little bit, but not harshly, but just firmly, and rock them, and just shh like that, and pat their little bum, and rock them and sing to them, and then once they calm down, you can release your grasp and just and calm down. And I know a lot of mothers, at night it's a little bit different. I think it's okay to let your baby cry, but at night what sometimes happens is children get in the habit of waking up at night. And what you want to do is if you've checked your baby and she or he is waking up in the middle of the night and you've already gone down the whole list, if you just let them cry for too long, that's going to wake them up even more. That's going to agitate them even more. And then if they do it several nights in a row, they're creating a habit of doing this. And a lot of times babies will wake up because they have a little bit of gas or something, and being against your body will actually help soothe that gas, and there's lots of little things you can do for you. I'm not talking about that right now. We'll get into that later. But one of the things you want to do is rock them. Don't let them just sit and cry. Rock them and get them back to sleep immediately, because you want to transition them back into sleep as quickly as you can, because you want that process to continue. But you don't want them to wake up too fully. Once they start crying, if you think this is a habit and you've already gone through and you know that they don't need to be changed, they don't need to be fed, they're not too hot, they're not too cold, they're not in any kind of pain, and one of the things you can do when a child seems antsy, when he's fidgeting, they're probably having they're uncomfortable for some reason. And so if you're laying your child on your shoulder and you're rocking and they just can't seem to, then first of all, I would try first, seeing if they're too hot or cold. Check their hands, check their feet, make sure that if it's really warm, if they seem pretty warm, and I'm not talking feverish. I mean, I'm just, if their feet are warm, if their hands are warm, if their head is, if they're a little bit moist, maybe they're hot. And so you've got to cool them off, or maybe if you put them against them. And one of the ways you can know if a baby's cold is if you put them up against your body and you put a blanket over them, then they just almost immediately relax. Now, that will not always be just cold, but at least that's something you can rule out. It's not. Then they're either were cold. They might have a little gas, and the heat on your body is helping, or they just may be just overtired and just being on mom. Will just soothe them. But what I do want to tell you is, a lot of moms, it's okay to rock your baby for hours. Some mothers think that that's spoiling their children, and that's not. Rocking your baby is not spoiling her. If you teach the child that they can't go to sleep without rocking, now that is probably you. And I don't mean at night. You can have a regular routine of rocking your child to sleep. But what I'm saying is, if in the middle of the night you have to rock them to sleep habitually, you don't want to make rock, especially like during the day and they're taking naps. Spending an hour a day rocking your child, that's you don't need to do that. But if you need that little transition of teaching a child to sleep through the night, that's one of the things I suggest. Now, a child is not going to sleep through the night usually for the first few months. And there are children that do it. Again, everything I say is generalizations. Your baby's going to be different. In each of your babies is going to be different. And so you just have to try these things out, and if they don't work, move on to something else. It's not going to hurt my feelings. We just do our best. What you do is it's a matter of figuring out what that baby needs at that moment. Okay, so maybe what we'll do. I know I want to do a program on little children's songs you can sing while you're rocking your baby, and I'm going to try to remember to include some lullabies in that. What was number 3? Let's see. Feeding your baby. Okay. As Christians, we look through the scripture and realize the importance of meals. For the Hebrews in the Old Testament, eating together was an important part of relationships. When a covenant was made between two parties, a meal was shared. Christ, before he gave up his life on the cross, spent the night having a ritual Passover meal with his apostles. And because of that, the communion for almost all Christians is a sacrament. Whether you're Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox, whatever you are, usually the communion meal is considered a sacrament. The process of eating has a spiritual dimension, and we can bridge over to mothers and child. We already spoke about mothers having that intimate bond with nursing and with rocking, but let's talk about your child when they transition from eating, um, uh, having a bottle or nursing to eating solid foods. The process of preparing meals for your child. You should begin a lifelong habit of thinking carefully what is nutritious and preparing it in a way that's going to be palatable for the baby. Don't start with sugary things because then they'll never eat anything with sugary things. You usually want to start, at least in my generation, we always started with cereals, grains. We'd go have little baby food, a little rice or oatmeal or let's see, what else do we have? I can't remember, like cream of wheat. I would give my babies. And this is important to prepare things. You're starting with that, and then you go to vegetables. We tended to go to vegetables. Let's just be honest. It's just too tempting to want to give your baby sweet things, and so you're going to do it. But I'm just saying, in a general sense, it's best to start with things and move into the sweet stuff. Much love and thought should be given to this important covenant meal between mom and baby. This is where dad can be of a great help because he really, if you bottle fed, he of course probably helped you with that. But if you were nursing, now dad can get involved and he can help you process the food, pick it out, cook it, and he can start beginning this intimacy of feeding with the baby. And we're going to spend some later, we'll go later, we'll discuss, how to choose and prepare nutritious food. But I want to right now discuss the importance of feeding your baby on a relationship level. It may be very tempting to give your child immediately finger foods. There's several reasons you should hold up on doing that too quickly. The first being that there is a bond of trust you are building with that child. That when you actually feed them with a spoon, there's an intimacy there. Remember, this is all about developing this intimate trust between baby and mother. Looking at your baby as you feed him or her, nice, warm, and remember, at first, give your child very thin, very watery, liquefied. Don't give them bread. Don't give them. Give them things that you can almost liquefy and little tiny bits at a time. If don't just give them too big of bites. I've seen this my whole life. I even think my mom did this a little bit. Sorry, Mom, but I remember her these big spoons. It's not like it's going to kill a child, but occasionally you just don't want. If your baby is choking for any reason, it spends a lot of time choking at meals. You need to thin things down. You need to make things very watery. But look at your baby, as you feed him or her. Coo and discuss how delicious the food is. Laugh and, these are very important to help a child gain confidence and a deep bond with mother as they grow. And children are going to naturally, this is one of the things that bugs mothers the most. About, 6 months, 8 months into, they're going to start picking things up and grab them and putting from their high chair. And so, that's another reason you might want to start with feeding your baby because first of all, it's less messy, and you don't get food all over your floor. But a lot of mothers are tempted to tell their child no, and I've even seen mothers scold their children. This is natural for a child. That's actually as natural as learning to crawl, because what a child does is this is the first movement they learn. They take things out. They and that's normal. I've heard of having these high chairs that have these little catchers. Something I've never seen one. I just heard somebody talk about it, that you add, and that when a baby throws it over, that it's caught in this thing. I don't know. I don't know where to get them or anything. I just heard somebody talk about it. But anyway. This experience of bonding with your child where you're feeding them helps a child gain confidence in you. And when your first child and you stay home with them, you may feel like you've given so much attention that this bonding is just not necessary. Hey, I do all these other things with them. Oh, I don't want to, here, feed yourself, kid. And there are even places online that suggest this. And, you know, I don't know. Just I would wait until they've got all their teeth, or you know what I'm saying. Usually, when they're 2 or 3 years old, they're going to have a full set of molars. You need those. You need those back molars to be able to chew your food. You know, a lot of babies will just swallow things whole if you feed them finger food, and that can cause stomach problems. That can cause constipation in babies, and you just have to. They need lots and lots of water. You need lots of fluids to make sure things go down. And if you give them finger food, a lot of times they're just not moist enough for a child, and they may even look like they're they may do this and chew, but they're really not chewing. You know, I suggest if you think you're going to give a child a little piece of something, put it in your mouth and only use your first 2 or 3 teeth, to chew it, and see how easy that is, because food needs to be chewed sufficiently to be able to get down. Children can choke on little pieces of food, so just be careful. And I've seen a lot of new moms do this. They put too big or they just give their children finger food because it's just easier, and it makes kids, kind of forces them into toddlerhood. And you don't want to. Just let the child grow up before you start giving him adult food. Okay, so when other children come, you will have less and less time with each child. So that's why I suggest, make those times of eating, nursing and cuddling and rocking and feeding your child. Those are important, and you can still do that no matter how many kids are running around you, and so that's going to keep that bond there with each and every child, making each child feel important.